By the end of 1961, the South Vietnamese army was being expanded to 200,000 men. South Vietnam also had Marine units, a small air force flying American aircraft, and a Navy for coastal patrol. As well as the regular armed forces, there was the 68,000-man paramilitary Civil Guard and various local militia. Since the United States had started rebuilding the South Vietnamese army back in 1955, the force had been organized, armed, and trained to fight large-scale battles. The danger had been expected to come from the North Vietnamese or Chinese armies, not from guerrilla bands. Commanders had been taught to mount big operations and to use massive firepower wherever they could. In fact, the South Vietnamese Army's entire structure and military doctrine had been copied wholesale from the United States Armed Forces. Senior American commanders had no doubt they were teaching the South Vietnamese the right tactics for the war they had to fight. Their main worries were about leadership and morale. President Diem had appointed his generals for their political loyalty rather than their abilities, while junior officers' promotions depended on family connections. As for the men, they were sometimes so poorly supplied they had to steal food. Desertions were running at 400 a month. As the NLF guerrillas began recruiting and training all over South Vietnam, they quickly built up their combat forces to 17,000 men and women. These were the main force troops, uniformed and trained to fight anywhere in units hundreds strong. Main force battalions were under the direct control of the NLF High Command, and a high proportion of their officers were trained troops from the north. The NLF were also creating regional and local forces. Regional troops were controlled by district commanders. They were less well armed and trained than the main forces, but their scattered units could come together to create powerful formations whenever they were needed. Local guerrilla units were based in the villages. They were part-time soldiers whose main job was to defend areas where the NLF was gaining control. In villages where the movement's influence was weaker, they served to intimidate opponents and show the wishes of the NLF were always to be taken seriously. The vast majority of new recruits to the NLF were teenagers with no military experience. In the hamlets, they were organized by political officers into three-person cells. Long ago, the Chinese communists had found that three made for a group more tightly knit and loyal than any other number. Although some weapons from the north, including Chinese mortars and machine guns, were beginning to reach NLF units, most guerrillas had to use whatever they could get. Rifles and equipment captured from the government army or left over from the French War made up the bulk of the arsenal. There were also secret factories making small arms and turning out grenades and mines in enormous numbers. Local forces depended on even more primitive weapons. Some were designed mainly to frighten intruders, but others were extremely dangerous. Punji traps, sharp spikes hidden in pits, could easily disable an enemy soldier. Punjis were often contaminated to increase the risks of infection.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là admin CLV. Vậy là clip có việc sub đầu tiên về lịch sử của trang tìm hiểu về chiến tranh Việt Nam đã được hoàn thành. Đây là clip được trích từ một đoạn nhỏ của tập 1 series Việt Nam Battlefield của các tác giả Mỹ và chỉ được lưu hành ở Canada hoặc là Mỹ. Đây thực sự là một cái clip biên tập đầu tiên của mình, cho nên là nó sẽ có thể là không tránh khỏi những cái sai sót nhỏ về nội dung cũng như là về kỹ thuật. Rất mong các bạn bỏ qua cho và mọi cái sự đóng góp về nội dung cũng như kỹ thuật, nếu có thể các bạn hãy để lại ở ô comment hoặc là ở inbox. Thì mình sẽ rất cảm ơn và sẽ nghiên cứu cẩn thận để rút kinh nghiệm lần sau để phục vụ các bạn tốt hơn. Mình khá xin lỗi tại vì thời gian đăng clip hơi khuya, xuất phát từ lý do là lệch lên múi giờ. Mình đang ở Lào, cũng cách Việt Nam mấy tiếng, cho nên là cũng hơi khó trong việc canh giờ. Tuy nhiên vì mình khá là thích thú khi mà làm clip này nên là mình sẽ đăng ngay cho nóng. Rất mong được đọc phản hồi của các bạn. Hãy subscribe và like kênh channel mới của Việt Nam Qua nhé. Cảm ơn các bạn và chúc các bạn một buổi tối vui vẻ, ngủ ngon. Chào các bạn.